The emergency alarm echoed through the Galactic Council chambers. Ambassador Vrel of the Korathi Empire rushed through the tall doors, his forearms trembling slightly. He had never heard that alarm before, not in his 40 years of service. The council chamber was already full. Representatives from 200 species filled the curved rows of seats. Everyone was talking at once. The sound was deafening. Vrel made his way to his seat and turned to his assistant. "What happened?" he asked. "The humans," his assistant said quietly. Vrel felt his blood run cold. Leaving? Leaving where? Everywhere. Every human diplomat, trader, and official in the galaxy. They're all going home. Vrel pulled up his data screen with shaking hands. The reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. Human embassies were closing. Human trade ships were turning around mid-route. Human research stations were being abandoned, all within the last 6 hours. On the main council screen, a message played on repeat. It was Ambassador Jake Morrison, the chief human representative. He stood in front of Earth's blue and green flag. He looked tired, but calm. "To the Galactic Council and all member species," Jake said. "Humanity thanks you for 50 years of diplomatic relations. We have learned much from you. We have shared what we could with you, but effective immediately. Earth is withdrawing from all diplomatic activities. Our embassies will close within 48 hours. All agreements will be honored through their completion, but no new agreements will be made. We wish you well." The message ended. That was it. No explanation. No demands. No anger in his voice. Just a simple goodbye. The council erupted in chaos. The chairman, an elderly Zenth with gray scales, banged his sonic gavel repeatedly. "Order. We must have order." Slowly, the noise died down. The chairman's voice was strained. "Does anyone have additional information?" The Zenth trade minister stood up. "We were in the middle of negotiating a mining agreement with humanity. 20 star systems involved. Billions of credits. This morning, their entire negotiation team packed up and left. They said the deal was canceled. They apologized for the inconvenience. Then, they were gone." A Vortan military officer rose next. "Our joint training exercise with the human fleet was scheduled for next month. We received a message this morning. Canceled. No reason given. More reports came in. Human students were leaving alien universities. Human doctors were leaving alien hospitals. Human engineers were abandoning joint projects. Every single human in the galaxy was going home." Vrel finally found his voice. "Has anyone tried to contact Earth directly?" The chairman nodded. "We've sent 50 messages in the last 3 hours. All communication channels are still open, but no one is responding. The messages are being received, but there's no reply." "What about the humans still here?" someone asked. "Can we talk to them?" "We've tried," the chairman said. "They're polite but say nothing. They're following their orders to evacuate. That's all." Vrel stood up. His voice carried across the chamber. "The Korathi Empire has been humanity's closest ally for 3 decades. We have shared military intelligence with them. Our children study in each other's schools. Last month, I had dinner with Jake Morrison. He seemed perfectly happy. He gave no indication anything was wrong." The chairman looked at him sadly. "Ambassador Vrel, you were his friend. What did we do? What made them leave?" "Oh." Vrel sat down slowly. "I don't know. I truly don't know." For the next 4 hours, the council reviewed everything. They pulled up 50 years of human diplomatic history. Humans had arrived in the galaxy like excited children, eager to meet new species and learn new things. They joined the council quickly. They were friendly, adaptable, and surprisingly good at solving problems. Humans became mediators when other species had disputes. They were neutral, fair, and patient. They helped negotiate peace treaties. They opened trade routes. They shared their art, music, and culture freely. They were model citizens, the Zenth minister said. Better than most species that have been here for centuries. They never complained, another ambassador added. Even when other species were rude to them, even when they were excluded from certain councils because they were so young. The Vortan officer pulled up military records. Their fleet was small, but effective. They helped us patrol trade routes. They fought pirates alongside us. They lost ships defending our colonies. They bled for this council. Vrel felt sick. His people loved humans. The Korathi and humans had become true friends, not just allies. They understood each other. Or, he thought they did. There must be something in the records, the chairman said desperately. Some complaint. Some incident. Something. They searched for hours. There was nothing. No formal complaints filed. No angry messages. No warnings. 50 years of peaceful cooperation. And then suddenly, silence. As the council meeting dragged into its 8th hour, a message alert appeared on Vrel's personal screen. It was from Captain Amy Rodriguez, the head of security at the human embassy. She had been his friend too. The message was brief. Vrel, I'm sorry I can't explain more. Please know that this isn't about anger. We're not mad at you or the Korathi people. We're not mad at anyone. Humanity has just decided it's time to take a different path. I hope you understand someday. Take care of yourself, my friend. Amy. Amy. Vrel read it 3 times. Then he stood and interrupted the chairman. I just received a message from Captain Rodriguez. She says they're not angry with us. Then why are they leaving? The Zenth minister demanded. She says humanity is taking a different path, Vrel said quietly. What does that mean? Someone shouted. What path? No one had an answer. The meeting continued late into the night, but nothing was resolved. The humans continued their evacuation exactly as planned. Within 48 hours, the last human diplomat left the council homeworld. Vrel stood at the spaceport and watched Amy's ship lift off. She had waved to him from the boarding ramp, a sad smile on her face. Then she was gone. The galaxy suddenly felt much larger and lonelier. For 50 years, humans had been everywhere. Their laughter in the corridors, their strange food in the cafeterias, their bizarre human humor that took decades to understand but was somehow endearing. Now, there was just silence. And a growing sense of dread that something very important had just changed. The galaxy didn't understand what had happened, but every ambassador, every leader, every military officer felt it in their bones. They had just lost something precious. And they didn't even know why. 3 weeks had passed since the humans left. The galaxy was trying to adjust, but it wasn't easy. Trade routes that humans had managed were falling into chaos. Piracy was increasing. Small disputes between species were escalating because there were no human mediators to calm things down. Dr. Ben Carter stood in the lobby of the Korathi Science Academy, waiting for his final transport home. He was the last human researcher on the Korathi homeworld. He had stayed behind to finish some paperwork and say proper goodbyes to his colleagues. Professor then, his Korathi research partner, approached him slowly. The old alien looked tired. Ben, please, before you go, tell me something. Anything. Why are you leaving? What did we do wrong? Ben set down his bag and looked at his friend. They had worked together for 5 years studying cosmic radiation patterns. They had published 7 papers together. They had shared meals and stories, then had been at his wedding ceremony via video link. Then, you didn't do anything wrong, Ben said gently. Your people have been wonderful to us. The Korathi are humanity's truest friends in the galaxy. Well, then why? Ben's voice broke slightly. If we're friends, why won't you tell us what's happening? Ben was quiet for a long moment. Because humanity has simply chosen a different path. We just decided that diplomatic participation in galactic affairs isn't working for us anymore. That makes no sense, then said. You were good at diplomacy. Everyone respected you. Ben smiled sadly. Being good at something doesn't mean you should keep doing it forever. He picked up his bag. I have to go. But then, remember this. Humanity wishes the galaxy well. We really do. They hugged. Which was awkward because then had 4 arms. Then, Ben walked to his ship and left. Then, stood in the empty lobby for a long time after he was gone. The confusion was galaxy-wide. But confusion was turning into something else. Something darker. On the bridge of the Galactic Defense Force flagship, Commander Ryan Foster stared at the reports coming in from the frontier regions. His antenna stalks were rigid with stress. Get me the chairman. Now. Within minutes, he was in a video conference with the Galactic Council Emergency Committee. Sirs, we have a situation. 3 separate hostile species have gone dark. The chairman leaned forward. What do you mean, dark? The Drell warlords, the Shakarn Dominion, and the Vrix swarm. All 3 have been hostile to Council space for decades. All 3 have been especially hostile to humanity. And all 3 have stopped responding to any communications in the past 2 weeks. Perhaps they're planning something, a counselor suggested. That's what we thought, Ryan said. So, I sent scout ships. They just reported back. He pulled up images on the screen. The council chamber went silent. The images showed destruction on a scale they had never seen. Drell military stations were torn apart. Not damaged. Not conquered. Completely destroyed. Massive installations that had taken decades to build were now floating debris fields. How many casualties? The chairman whispered. We estimate 15,000 Drell warriors, Ryan said. Their entire frontier fleet. More images appeared. Shakarn war cruisers cut in half. Vrix hive ships, which were supposed to be nearly indestructible, cracked open like eggs. The precision was terrifying. Every shot had hit exactly where it needed to, for maximum damage. Who did this? Someone asked. But they all knew the answer. The weapon signatures are human. Ryan confirmed. The tactics are human. The thoroughness is human. But we would have seen human ships, the chairman protested. We have monitoring stations throughout that region. Our stations detected nothing, Ryan said quietly. No ships. No energy signatures. Nothing. The humans did this without us seeing them do it. A Vortan admiral stood up, his face pale. Are you telling us that humanity destroyed 3 hostile civilizations in 2 weeks? And we didn't even know they were doing it? That's exactly what I'm telling you, Ryan said. The implications crashed over the council like a wave. For 50 years, humans had worked alongside them. They had shared military technology. They had coordinated defense operations. The council thought they knew human capabilities. They knew nothing. The timing can't be a coincidence, Vrell said slowly. They withdrew from diplomacy. Then immediately attacked their enemies. They weren't talking to us because they were busy doing this. The chairman's hands shook as he pulled up human military records. The council had always known humans had a military. It was small, by galactic standards. Maybe 500 ships, enough to defend their territory and help with anti-piracy operations. Nothing threatening. Where did they get the ships to do this? The chairman asked. We've monitored Sol's system. We know what they have. Agent Lisa Park's final report was pulled up on screen. Lisa had been humanity's top intelligence operative, working with Council security forces. Her last report from 4 weeks ago was routine. Piracy patterns in the outer rim. Nothing unusual. She had closed her report with a cheerful note, wishing everyone well. She knew. Someone said. She was working with us, while knowing humanity was planning this. A Zenth intelligence analyst spoke up hesitantly. Sirs, I've been reviewing our surveillance of Sol system. We have monitoring satellites, watching Earth's space territory. They send us regular reports. And, the chairman prompted, the reports show nothing unusual. Normal civilian traffic, no military buildup. But, he paused, I decided to check the raw data feeds from the satellites themselves, not just the processed reports. What did you find? The satellites are still there. Still functioning. But the data they're sending us is fake. It's very good fake data. But it's a loop. They're showing us what we expect to see, not what's actually there. The council chamber erupted. How long? The chairman demanded. How long has this been happening? Based on the pattern analysis, at least 15 years, the analyst said. Maybe longer. 15 years. Humans had been hiding their true activities for 15 years. They had been smiling, negotiating, serving on committees, all while secretly building something the council couldn't even imagine. Ambassador Vrel felt like he was falling. He had trusted Jake Morrison. They had been friends. Or so he thought. How much of it had been real? How much had been performance? Pull up all records of human military intervention, the chairman ordered. The records appeared. Humans had helped fight pirates dozens of times. They had defended alien colonies from raiders. They had participated in peacekeeping operations. Every time, their forces had been professional, effective, and proportional. Look at the efficiency, Ryan said, pointing at the data. In every engagement, humans won with minimal losses. We thought they were good, but now I'm wondering if they were holding back, making it look like they were trying hard, when they were barely trying at all. Why would they do that? Someone asked. Because they didn't want us to know how strong they really were, Vrel said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. They wanted us to think they were like us. Partners. Equals. If we had known the truth, we would have feared them. And fear would have made everything difficult. So they pretended to be weaker than they were, the chairman said. For 50 years. Not just weaker, Ryan said, studying the data. They showed us exactly what we expected to see. Strong enough to be useful. Not strong enough to be threatening. It was perfect. The meeting went on for hours. Every piece of evidence pointed to the same conclusion. Humanity had been playing a completely different game than everyone else. While the galaxy thought they were making a new friend, humanity had been quietly building something massive in secret. As the council adjourned, Vrel returned to his office. There was a message waiting for him. An old one. Sent 6 months ago, by Jake Morrison. Vrel had read it before, but now he read it again with new eyes. Vrel, thanks for dinner last night. I always enjoy our conversations. You asked me if humanity was happy with our place in the galaxy. I said yes, remember? I meant it. We are happy. But happiness and satisfaction are different things. Think about that. Vrel had thought it was just philosophical musing at the time. Now he understood. Jake had been trying to tell him. In his own way, he had been warning him that change was coming. The galaxy was finally starting to understand. They hadn't lost a friend. They had just woken up a sleeping giant. The Galactic Council met every day now. Emergency session after emergency session. Fear was spreading through the galaxy like a disease. Every government was asking the same questions. How strong were the humans really? What else had they been hiding? And most importantly, were they a threat? Commander Ryan Foster stood at the front of the council chamber, presenting his latest intelligence report. He had barely slept in weeks. We've completed our analysis of the attacks on the Drell, Shakarn, and Vrix territories. The numbers are disturbing. The main screen lit up with data. The Drell had 15 military stations in that sector, all destroyed in under 6 hours. The Shakarn fleet numbered 200 warships, all destroyed in under 4 hours. The Vrix hive ships, which we consider nearly indestructible, were eliminated in under 2 hours. How many human ships did this take? The chairman asked. That's the problem, Ryan said. We don't know. Our long-range sensors detected no human fleet movements. No large energy signatures. Nothing. It's as if the attacks happened by themselves. A Fortin admiral spoke up. That's impossible. You can't move a fleet that size without someone seeing it. Unless their stealth technology is far beyond anything we imagined, Ryan replied. Or unless they didn't need to move a large fleet at all. The implications hung in the air. If humans could destroy 3 hostile civilizations without anyone detecting their forces, what else could they do? And to whom? A new report came in. Ryan read it quickly, and his face went pale. Sirs, we just received word from deep space monitoring stations. There are structures in Sol system that we never knew existed. What kind of structures? Someone asked. Big ones. Our analysts say they're military in nature. Weapons, platforms, shipyards, construction facilities, all hidden behind some kind of screening technology. When they dropped the screens to move equipment, our sensors finally picked them up. The screen showed blurry images of massive installations orbiting various planets and moons in the Sol system. They were huge. Some were larger than most species' orbital stations. How long have these been there? The chairman asked weakly. Conservative estimate? At least 30 years. Some might be older. 30 years. While humans sat in council meetings and smiled and negotiated trade deals, they had been building an empire in their own backyard. The council members looked at each other with growing horror. A messenger approached the chairman and handed him a datapad. The chairman read it, and his face went even paler than before. Everyone needs to hear this. Ambassador Kate Sullivan served on this council for 15 years before she retired 5 years ago. She's one of the most respected human diplomats we've ever known. Everyone remembered Kate. She had been funny, kind, and incredibly skilled at finding compromise. She had personally prevented 3 major conflicts during her tenure. After she retired, she gave a speech to the Earth Diplomatic Corps. The chairman continued. That speech was never meant for our ears, but our intelligence services finally recovered it. I'm going to play it now. Kate's image appeared on the screen. She was older in this recording, speaking to a room full of young human diplomats on Earth. You'll learn quickly that the galaxy is not what you expect, Kate said. The species you'll meet are advanced in technology, but many are still primitive in their thinking. They make the same mistakes over and over. They let pride, fear, and greed control their decisions. She paused and smiled sadly. You'll want to help them. You'll want to show them better ways. But here's what you need to understand. We're not there to change them. We're there to manage them. To keep them from hurting themselves or each other too badly. Think of yourselves as babysitters for a very large, very dangerous kindergarten. The council chamber erupted in angry shouts. The chairman held up his hand for silence. There's more. Kate's speech continued. Some of you will become frustrated. You'll wonder why we don't just take control. We're stronger than most of them. We're smarter than most of them. We could make the galaxy a better place if we just made the decisions. We hope that over time, they'll learn from us, that they'll grow up. The recording ended. The silence in the chamber was deafening. Babysitters, the Zenth trade minister said bitterly. She called us children. Vrel stood up slowly. His voice was calm, but sad. She wasn't entirely wrong, was she? How many wars have we had in the last 50 years? How many times did humans help us avoid catastrophe? How many times did they quietly fix problems we didn't even know we had? What do you mean? The chairman asked. Vrel pulled up a file on his personal screen. 20 years ago, the Korathi Intelligence Service detected something unusual. A species called the Nethrin were developing what appeared to be a doomsday weapon, a planet killer. We were preparing to report it to the council and start formal investigation procedures. He paused. But before we could, the Nethrin program just disappeared. All their research was gone. The scientists involved retired suddenly. The funding vanished. It was as if the whole thing never existed. What happened? Ryan asked. We investigated quietly. What we found terrified us. Humans had discovered the program before we did. They infiltrated the highest levels of Nethran government. They manipulated their budget committees. They arranged for the lead scientists to receive better job offers elsewhere. They dismantled the entire program without firing a single shot or letting anyone know they were involved. The council stared at him. "Why didn't you report this?" the chairman demanded. "Because the humans asked us not to," Vrel said simply. They explained that if the galaxy knew what the Nethran had tried to do, there would be panic, trade embargoes, maybe even military action. It would hurt billions of innocent Nethran citizens. So they fixed the problem quietly and asked us to keep it quiet. We agreed, because it was the right thing to do. How many other problems did they fix without us knowing? Someone whispered. The question hung in the air. How many wars had humans prevented? How many disasters had they averted? How many times had they protected the galaxy from itself, while everyone else went about their business, completely unaware? They were protecting us, the chairman said slowly. All this time, they weren't just participating in our civilization. They were guarding it. Ryan pulled up more data. I've been reviewing human intervention patterns over the past 50 years. There are at least 40 incidents where humans were involved in solving major problems. But in 35 of those cases, their involvement was barely documented. They worked in the background. Krons, they worked in the background. They made it look like the solutions came from us. Why? The Vortan admiral asked. Why hide their good deeds? Because they wanted us to learn? Vrel said quietly. If they solved all our problems for us, we'd never grow. So they guided us, nudged us, helped us find solutions ourselves. Like parents teaching children. The chairman looked old and tired. So for 50 years, humanity watched over us, protected us, taught us, and we never even knew it. And now they've stopped, Ryan said. The question is why? What made them decide we're not worth protecting anymore? A junior analyst stood up hesitantly. Sir, permission to speak? Go ahead, the chairman said. I don't think they've stopped protecting us, the analyst said. I think they've stopped pretending to be one of us. Look at their actions. They eliminated the Drell, Shakarn, and Vrix. Those were the three most aggressive species in Council space. They attacked human colonies regularly. They raided peaceful worlds. They were a threat to everyone. So? Someone asked. So the humans removed the threats, cleanly, efficiently, and they did it without asking permission from the Council, because they knew if they asked, we'd debate it for months. We'd form committees. We'd try to negotiate, and people would die while we talked. The analyst pulled up a map of the galaxy. Humans aren't abandoning us. They're just done playing by our rules. They're doing what they think is right, whether we approve or not. The chamber was silent as everyone absorbed this. It made a terrible kind of sense. Humanity had tried to work within the system. They had been patient for 50 years, but the system was slow, corrupt, and often useless. So they had left the system, and now they were doing things their own way. The question, Ryan said slowly, is what they plan to do next, and whether any of us can stop them if we disagree with their choices. The chairman looked around the chamber at 200 species, all looking worried and small. We can't stop them. We never could. We just didn't know it until now. Vrel thought about his friend Jake Morrison. About their last dinner together. Jake had seemed sad that night. Though Vrel hadn't understood why at the time, now he did. Jake had been saying goodbye, not just to Vrel, but to the hope that the galaxy could be better. Humanity had given them 50 years to prove they could grow up. The galaxy had failed the test. 1 month after humanity's withdrawal, everything changed again. The message came through all channels simultaneously. Every government, every military, every news network in the galaxy received it at the same time. There was no way to block it. No way to ignore it. Captain Dan Wright appeared on screens across the galaxy. He wore a simple black uniform with no decorations. Behind him was empty space and distant stars. He looked directly at the camera with tired eyes. "People of the galaxy," he said. "My name is Captain Dan Wright of the Earth defense ship Valiant. I speak on behalf of humanity. For 50 years, we have been part of your civilization. We participated in your councils. We followed your rules. We tried to help when we could. And during those 50 years, we watched. We documented. We hoped you would change. You haven't." Dan pulled up a holographic display beside him. "What you are about to see is the truth about your galactic civilization. We have removed all classifications from our intelligence files. Everything is here. Everything is real. Everything can be verified." The data began to flow. Crime after crime. Atrocity after atrocity. Species enslaving other species while claiming to be democratic. Governments murdering their own people while speaking about freedom at council meetings. Trade empires built on the backs of prisoners who had committed no crime except being born on the wrong planet. The Galactic Council had known about some of it. They had ignored it. Political considerations. Trade relationships. The complexity of interfering in other species' internal affairs. There were always reasons to look away, but humans hadn't looked away. They had documented everything, and now they were showing it to everyone. Case number 47. Dan's voice was emotionless. The Zenth Collective operates 6 labor camps on mining worlds in the Outer Rim. The workers are from conquered species. They work until they die. Life expectancy is 4 years. Council inspectors have visited these facilities 8 times. Each time, they reported no violations. Each time, they were bribed. The evidence appeared on screen. Financial records, video footage, testimony from escaped workers. The Zenth Trade Minister, who was watching this broadcast with the rest of the council, went very pale. Case number 93. The Vortan Republic has assassinated 17 reform leaders in the past 20 years. These leaders were trying to end corruption in their government. They were killed by official security forces. The council was informed twice. No action was taken. More evidence. More proof. Dan's voice never rose. He simply presented fact after fact. The galaxy watched in horror as their civilization was laid bare. Case number 162. The Shakarn Dominion, before we eliminated them, were conducting biological experiments on captive populations. 7 million sentient beings died in these experiments. The council knew. Medical ethics committees were formed. Reports were written. Nothing was done. The broadcast continued for 2 hours. 1,247 documented violations of sentient rights. 892 preventable conflicts that the council had failed to prevent. 34 attempted genocides that humans had quietly stopped without anyone knowing. When it was finally over, Dan looked directly at the camera again. "We're not telling you this to make you feel bad. We're telling you this because you need to understand why we left. Your system is broken. Not just flawed. Not just imperfect. Broken at its core." He leaned forward slightly. "The Galactic Council is controlled by the oldest and most powerful species. They make the rules. They decide what matters and what doesn't. Young species like humanity are allowed to participate. But only if we don't threaten their power. Justice is available only if it's profitable. Peace is maintained only if it's convenient. We tried to change things from within. We really did. For 50 years, we proposed reforms. We wrote proposals. We served on committees. And every time, the old powers blocked us. Not with open opposition. That would be too obvious. They just delayed. Complicated. Buried things in procedure. Until everyone got tired and gave up. Except we didn't give up. We just stopped asking permission. The screen behind Dan changed. It showed the destroyed Drell stations, the shattered Shakern fleet, the cracked Vrix hive ships. These three species attacked human colonies repeatedly. They killed thousands of our people. We asked the Council for protection. We followed all the proper procedures. We waited for justice, and while we waited, they kept killing. So, we stopped waiting. We're not sorry we destroyed them. We're sorry it took us so long. We're sorry we let Council procedure matter more than our own people's lives. Dan stood up. Humanity is done with your system. We will not attend your councils. We will not sign your treaties. We will not pretend your civilization is something it's not. But we're not abandoning you either. We're just doing things our way now. If you want humanity's cooperation again, build something worthy of it. Build a system based on justice, not power. On truth, not convenience. On protecting the weak, not serving the strong. The broadcast ended. The galaxy sat in stunned silence for approximately 10 seconds. Then, everything exploded. Within hours, protests erupted on 100 worlds. Young species who had been oppressed by the system saw hope. They had evidence now. Proof of the crimes committed against them. Proof that the Council had known and done nothing. Within days, governments began to fall. The Zenth Collective's leadership was overthrown by their own military. The Vortan Republic faced civil war. Dozens of smaller species demanded justice for decades of abuse. The Galactic Council tried to maintain order. They declared the human broadcast illegal. They claimed the evidence was fake. They sent security forces to suppress protests. It didn't work. The evidence was too thorough. The crimes were too obvious. And the young species of the galaxy had finally had enough. Ambassador Vrel watched his civilization tear itself apart from his office window. Fires burned in the city below. Korathi protesters demanded that their government break ties with the Council. Some were calling for alliance with humanity. Others were calling for revolution. His communication console beeped. A message from Jake Morrison. Vrel hesitated, then opened it. Vrel, I know you're watching your world burn. I'm sorry. We didn't want this. But we couldn't stay silent anymore. The truth had to come out. The Korathi people are good. You are good. You were always the one species we felt truly understood us. But even you were trapped in a system that made doing the right thing impossible. Right. There's hope, though. The galaxy is changing. It's painful, but necessary. Like setting a broken bone. It hurts, but it heals stronger. When things settle, when the new order emerges, we'll talk again. Not as council representatives, as friends, as equals, as people who want the same thing. A galaxy where justice actually means something. Until then, take care of yourself and your people. We're watching. If anyone tries to harm the Korathi, they'll answer to us. You're not alone. Jake. Vrel read the message 3 times. Then he looked out the window again. The fires were spreading, but he could also see people organizing. Medical teams helping the injured, community leaders calming the crowds. Order emerging from chaos. Maybe Jake was right. Maybe this was necessary. The galaxy would never be the same. The old system was dying. What would replace it? No one knew. But for the first time in centuries, real change was possible, and humanity had made it happen. Not through diplomacy, not through procedure, but by simply telling the truth. Across the galaxy, on the command deck of the Valiant, Captain Dan Wright sat down heavily in his chair. Agent Maria Santos appeared on his screen. She looked exhausted, but satisfied. How bad is it? Dan asked. 40 governments in crisis. 15 species demanding council reform. 3 civil wars. 2 revolutions. Maria reported. It's chaos. Ria. 3. 40-44. Maria reported. Any calls for help? Hundreds. Everyone wants us to save them. To restore order. to choose sides. Dan shook his head. We're not doing that. This is their mess. They need to fix it themselves. Some species are going to die during this chaos, Maria said quietly. I know. But if we save them now, we'd have to save them forever. They need to learn to save themselves. Dan looked at the starfield ahead. We'll intervene. If there's genocide. If there's mass atrocity. But short of that, they're on their own. Some people are going to call us monsters for this, Maria said. Some people already are, Dan replied. But we didn't create this mess. We just stopped pretending it didn't exist. The galaxy was burning. But from the ashes, something new could grow. Something better. Humanity would make sure of it. 6 months had passed since humanity's revelation. The galaxy was still burning. But the fires were different now. Not destruction. Transformation. The Galactic Council still existed, but barely. Half the member species had withdrawn. Others had formed new alliances. The old power structures were crumbling. Some peacefully. Others through violence. On Earth, President Emma Hayes stood in the Situation Room, watching reports from across the galaxy. Her advisors surrounded her, all looking tired. They had been working around the clock since the withdrawal began. Status report. Emma said quietly. Admiral Greg Palmer spoke first. Militarily, we remain unchallenged. 3 minor species attempted to probe our defenses in Sol system. They were warned once, then disabled. No casualties on either side. They got the message. Diplomatically? Emma asked. Secretary Linda Morris pulled up a screen. We've received 417 requests for formal talks. 62 species want to form new alliances with us. 33 want us to help them with internal reforms. 21 want protection from their neighbors. And our response? The same to all of them. We're not interested in formal alliances. We're not joining new councils. We're not playing the same game with new rules. If they want to talk, they can talk. But we're not promising anything. Emma nodded slowly. What about the humanitarian situations? A different advisor spoke. There are currently 9 major crisis zones. 3 civil wars. 4 famines. 2 plague outbreaks. All preventable. All the result of governmental collapse or corruption. And we're doing nothing? Emma asked. We're doing plenty. We're just not doing it officially. The advisor pulled up a map. Medical supplies are reaching plague zones through anonymous shipments. Agricultural technology is appearing in famine regions. Someone is providing clean water systems to refugee camps. Emma smiled slightly. And no one knows it's us? They suspect. But we're not confirming. The supplies arrive with no markings. The technology transfers happen through proxies. We help those who can't help themselves. But we're not making it a political statement. Across the galaxy, this pattern played out over and over. A struggling colony world would wake up to find a shipment of power generators. No note. No demands. Just help when it was needed most. A young species trying to rebuild after revolution would discover their data networks mysteriously repaired. Their communication satellites suddenly working again. Anonymous gifts that appeared exactly when needed. Humanity was keeping its promise. They wouldn't participate in galactic politics, but they wouldn't abandon those who truly needed help. On the Korathi homeworld, Ambassador Vrel stood in the newly reformed Korathi Assembly. His people had restructured their entire government in the past 6 months. Out with the old corruption. In with transparency and accountability. It had been painful. Some of the old leadership had fought back. There had been violence. But the Korathi people had won. They had built something better. Vrel's communication console chimed. A message from Earth. From Jake Morrison. The first direct communication in 6 months. Vrel, I've been watching your people. I'm proud of what you've accomplished. You didn't wait for permission. You didn't ask for help. You just did what needed to be done. That's what we've been waiting to see. The Korathi government has requested formal talks with Earth. I've been authorized to respond. We accept. Not as council members. Not as allies in the old sense. But as partners. As equals. As people who share the same values. I'll be arriving on your world next week. Let's have dinner. As friends. And let's talk about the future. A real future. Not the pretend one we had before. Jake. Vrel felt tears in his eyes. His people had passed the test. Humanity was willing to talk again. But the Korathi weren't the only ones changing. Across the galaxy, young species were reforming, building new systems, learning to solve their own problems. Some failed. Some struggled. But they were trying. And humanity watched. Always watching. Captain Chris Rodriguez commanded a stealth patrol along the frontier. His ship, the Ranger, was invisible to almost all sensors. His mission was simple. Observe. Report. Intervene only if necessary. Captain, we're picking up distress signals from the Vortan border colonies. His tactical officer reported. Chris pulled up the data. A Vortan warlord was attacking civilian transports. The reformed Vortan government had asked him to stop. He had refused. Now he was killing innocent people to make a point. Time to intercept? Chris asked. 14 minutes at maximum speed. Do it. Broadcast a warning on all channels. This is Earth Defense Ship Ranger. You are attacking civilian vessels. Cease immediately, or you will be disabled. The Vortan warlord's response was crude and insulting. He didn't believe humans would actually interfere. He thought the withdrawal meant humanity didn't care anymore. He was wrong. 12 minutes later, the warlord's flagship was drifting in space, all weapons destroyed, engines disabled, but life support intact. His crew was alive, but powerless. The civilian transports were safely on their way. Chris broadcast a final message. This is Captain Rodriguez. Let this be clear to everyone in the galaxy. Humanity is not participating in your politics. We're not joining your councils. We're not choosing sides in your wars. But we will not allow atrocities. We will not allow the strong to prey on the weak. You want to fight each other? That's your business. But you harm civilians, you answer to us. The message spread across the galaxy within hours. Humanity's new role was becoming clear. They weren't rulers. They weren't members of any alliance. They were something else. Guardians. Enforcers. The line that couldn't be crossed. Some species hated it. They called humanity arrogant. Self-appointed judges. Who gave them the right to decide what was acceptable? But other species were grateful. For the first time in centuries, there was a real deterrent against the worst crimes. Pirates thought twice before attacking. Warlords reconsidered their plans. Corrupt governments knew they were being watched. The galaxy was changing. Not quickly, not easily, but really changing. On Earth, in a quiet garden behind the diplomatic complex, Jake Morrison sat on a bench. He was reading messages from across the galaxy. Some angry, some grateful, some confused. His tablet chimed. A personal message from Vrel. Jake opened it and smiled. Jake, I understand now. I understand why you left. Why you stayed silent for so long. You were waiting for us to grow up. To take responsibility for ourselves. To stop expecting you to fix everything for us. Thank you for having faith that we could. Even when we didn't have faith in ourselves. I'll see you next week. Dinner is on me. Your friend, Vrel. Jake looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, the galaxy was struggling through its rebirth. It would take years, maybe decades. Some species wouldn't make it. Others would thrive. But humanity had done what it set out to do. They had stopped pretending. They had told the truth. They had forced the galaxy to confront its own failures. Now it was up to the galaxy to decide what came next. A young diplomat approached Jake's bench. Ambassador Morrison? President Hayes wants to see you. The Korathi aren't the only ones asking for talks. We're getting legitimate requests from 15 other species. Reformed governments. New systems. They want to build something better. When the Tencha gathers Y folders Y. Jake stood up slowly. Tell the president I'll be there in 10 minutes. And pull together a team. Real reformers. People who actually care about making things better, not just people who are good at politics. What are we building, sir? The young diplomat asked. Jake smiled. Not a council. Not an alliance. Something new. A coalition of species who actually believe in justice, who will hold each other accountable, who will do the right thing even when it's hard. Will it work? I don't know. But we're going to try. And this time, we're not doing it alone. We're doing it with partners who proved they deserve the name. The young diplomat left. Jake stood in the garden for one more moment, looking at the stars. 50 years ago, humanity had gone to the stars hoping to find friends. They found something else. A galaxy that needed more than friendship. It needed truth. It needed accountability. It needed someone willing to say no. So humanity had said no. And in doing so, they had given the galaxy the greatest gift possible. The chance to be better. Not through force. Not through conquest. But through example. Through truth. Through refusing to accept injustice just because it was convenient. Jake walked back into the complex. There was work to do. A galaxy to help rebuild. Not as rulers, not as masters, but as partners with those who earned it. The withdrawal was over. A new chapter was beginning. And this time, humanity wouldn't be alone in writing it. Across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds, people looked up at their own skies and wondered what came next. The old order was gone. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in living memory, it felt like the future could actually be better. And somewhere in the dark between the stars, human ships watched and waited, ready to help those who helped themselves, ready to stop those who preyed on the weak, ready to build something worthy of the galaxy they had always hoped to find. The galaxy had panicked when humanity broke off all diplomacy. But panic had turned to chaos. Chaos had turned to change. And change, painful as it was turning into hope. The experiment wasn't over. It was just beginning. And humanity would see it through. Not as the galaxy's masters, but as its conscience, as its guardians in the dark, as the promise that justice, real justice, was still possible, if enough people were willing to fight for it.